Hello. We had a momentous election here in Delaware County and in Radnor Township just a few days ago, the results of which will have implications for a very long time to come. That's one of the subjects we're going to be talking about today with 6th Ward Commissioner Jake Abel in this program of Commissioner's Corner. Jake, always a pleasure.
Glad to be back.
As you know, this is a series that is sponsored by MLTV in the interest of keeping Radnor citizens, taxpayers, informed of events in the township and particularly government and how government decisions affect the quality of life and the fiscal health of Radnor Township.
Sure.
As I said, by all accounts, the recent election was momentous in a number of ways. The Radnor Township Board, effective January, will now be a 5-2.
Correct.
5 Democrats and 2 Republicans, you and Rich Booker.
Sure.
What does that mean? How will that affect your effectiveness as a member of that board?
Well, I mean, you're correct. We will be a 5-2 board, but at the local level, I always tell people, to me, party politics don't matter. When we're talking about trash pickup, trash doesn't have a party affiliation. So if your trash doesn't get picked up, you're angry at whoever is in charge. But it's really no different from what we are now. We're 4-3 now, and I'll continue to talk about the same values that I've talked about for the last 2 years. Safety for our children and residents, protection of our parks, and fiscal responsibility.
But it makes something we've talked about in the past even more important, and that's collaboration and fairness at the board level. Is it your hope, expectation, that there'll be a higher level of collaboration? I mean, clearly they have the power, they have the votes,
Sure.
They can do whatever they please, which is kind of what they've been doing anyway with 4-3.
Yep.
But now they're dominant. Is that a concern to you?
Well, they have the responsibility now to lead effectively. And if you're not collaborating, I think that sends a sign to the residents. Over the last 2 years, I thought I've done a very good job of reaching out across the aisle and bringing forth issues that receive bipartisan support. I sit down. There's a couple members that I don't sit down with because I don't think there's good faith there. But for the most part, I work well with the other side, and for the new members coming on, I've already reached out, and we'll hopefully be having coffee in the next couple weeks before they start.
Is it fair to ask you whether you were surprised by the results?
I was surprised by the margin, but it was I don't know if it was record, but it was a high turnout.
Sure was.
What I'm surprised about is that at the local level, votes seem to be cast based on national issues, when stuff we do at the local level impact residents so much more than at the national level. So I'd like to see, it's really on me to educate residents on why candidates matter and not necessarily party at the local level.
Well, we'll see what happens next time around. Your agenda for the balance of this year, not just yours, but the board's, for the balance of this year and moving into next year. Some really interesting issues. I don't think the Penn Medicine has really settled down yet because it's still under construction, and there's still some major questions about the impact it's going to have on the region in terms of traffic, et cetera,
Right.
and whether or not they're going to be a good corporate citizen in spite of everything they've said and promised. There are some park issues, and I know you have a special interest in parks, but there was one in particular, Veterans Park. Tell us about that.
Well, this past meeting on Veterans Day, we renamed Veterans Park Veterans and First Responders Park, and Penn Medicine did come in and they donated $250,000 for park renovations, and we got to reach out and thank them and appreciate those.
Was that a surprise?
Well, it was a surprise to some, including myself. Apparently this has been in the works, but I wasn't informed of it, which you would think a commissioner at the meeting would know, and it would be in the packet so residents could come and either offer their support or be able to comment if they so choose. But we always are appreciative of organizations who want to be good community leaders and give back to the community. In this case, I think I don't know that it followed the process that I would have liked to have seen, which would have been, all commissioners included on the conversations and be aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that, we never designated where that money would go, so I'm not sure how it was designated toward a park that we haven't even talked about as a board.
Which park is that?
So it's the Veterans and First Responders Park, which is along Conestoga Road.
Is that now an active park?
It's a park. It's a current park, Veterans Park. I don't know how active it is.
What reason? Why would it be dedicated to that particular park?
You don't know. That's a question I'm still trying to search for.
Okay. All right.
An answer I'm asking for.
There's another issue that I wasn't even aware of, and it's the TAP Trail. What is that? I never heard of it before.
So the TAP Trail was voted on by a previous board, and it's really
that's TAP.
TAP, and so it's really.
Is that an acronym for something?
It's good. I don't know.
Okay.
I refer to it as the TAP Trail, but it's basically you're connecting paths throughout the Philadelphia region so people can bike.
It goes beyond Radnor Township. Then.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So the part of the TAP Trail that I was discussing on Monday night was the part that comes through the 6th Ward, and the concept is you're going to take bikers down West Wayne Avenue, put them onto Conestoga Road, and then cross Conestoga to a ramp through the West Wayne Preserve. The two issues I have, one, we're putting pedestrians, bikers, mainly children, onto Conestoga Road and expecting them to cross Conestoga Road safely. And we all know, anyone who's driven on Conestoga Road in that area knows it's not the safest area. When we have a stoplight at West Wayne Avenue, so you should be able to just go down West Wayne Avenue, and we have two park entrances, one on West Wayne and one on Gallagher. I'm not sure why we need a third in the middle to go up to connect to the preserve. So.
Who draws the plans for things like that?
So this was done 7 years ago, and it's there's an engineering company and a company that's leading the design of this project.
But under what department does it come in the township? Parks and Recreation?
Parks and Rec.
Okay. As I said, I never heard of it before, but apparently it's a major issue. And it will allow people outside of Radnor Township to come into the township on this trail?
Yeah, so the path on West Wayne, so the idea would be you could get off at the Wayne train station, go down North Wayne to South Wayne to West Wayne.
Right.
And then go to Conestoga and then get on the bike path there.
Why?
Well, I support the idea of getting more people walking or on bikes, but we already have the infrastructure there with an entrance on West Wayne and an entrance on Gallagher. I don't see the need to put the ramp through the preserve and then try to put people on Conestoga Road. In addition to that, we've got so many other issues that we need to pay for, and right now, if we don't receive any more grants, we're already looking at a $300,000 cost to this project.
On top of the grant money that's already
on top of the grant money we've already received.
Yes. It's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. And yet, the board has approved or is about to approve a special tax for the fire department and first responders.
Yeah, and this is something that I've talked about for the last 18 months since the storm of August 2018, when we had our volunteer firefighters were out. They were doing rescues in shorts and tennis shoes, and that we know based on reports that we're having a harder time, countrywide, nationwide, recruiting volunteers to be firefighters. So, they come back and their costs are growing, and residents, I think, need to know if they have a fire in their house, they expect the fire department to show up. So residents should have knowledge of what it costs to run a fire department. So to do a fee, this is one fee that I do support. I don't know that I support the fee and then continue to raise discretionary funding. That's not the idea that I had in mind.
So this will be a fee, not a tax?
That's still being discussed.
Okay. We receive the solicitation every year from Radnor, and we happily write a check, partly because we benefited from it, a fire as well as the ambulance service and so on. So it's a phenomenal service to have available to us. And it's inexpensive.
Right.
So in addition to that, there would be a fee/tax, and as with most taxes, it will increase over time.
Well, that's the other thing that I think we need to discuss as a board. My idea is that it's set. You know, we work with the fire department. They know exactly what they're getting from the township, and then there's some expectations that they're able to do additional fundraising or through other measures, or if we are going out asking community organizations to support programs. You know, parks may not be the top priority. Maybe we should be looking at the fire department or other projects where we know are in some sort of deteriorating state that we could use.
Again, I know from past conversations we've had on this program, your very strong sense of holding the board, public officials accountable, taxpayers' money, et cetera, and transparency, making sure people have at least the opportunity to know, to learn, to be involved, to be engaged. So you have talked about, particularly in the wake of the election, of waging your own campaign for greater accountability and more transparency. Is that something that's on your agenda for the balance of your term?
Yeah, over these next 2 years.
Which is not going to make you a very popular person.
So over these next 2 years, I think that is the charge. You know, we need to be more accountable to the residents for how we're spending taxpayer dollars. Now, you know, over the last year, I mean, how many times have we gone in, trees, for example? You know, we went into Yankee Park twice to look at the same area and paid a tree company to take down trees in the same area. That's duplication. That's waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
So
why did that happen?
Well, I don't want to speculate. I mean, I have my own reasons why.
Okay.
It's not for this show, but it's something that we've got to get past and figure out. We shouldn't be doing things. We should have a long-term strategic plan. West Wing Preserve, we've taken trees down there knowing that I have a stormwater project proposed that would remove the trees anyway. So we went in and removed trees that were going to be taken down at some point.
Is it lack of communications at the board level and between and among departments?
I don't...
I mean, that happens in every organization.
Yeah, I think some of it, in the cases that I provided, was some partisanship. I think some of it was a little bit of a power play. But those are the things that we need to get past.
Yeah.
As I started with, we don't need party politics at the local level. You know, we just need to do a good job and do what the residents elected us to do.
This is not a partisan show. We try not to make it a partisan show, but let me end with this. What advice, what counsel would you give, if you haven't already, to the Republican leadership in Radnor Township as we look ahead to the next election?
Again, the message, I think, is...
We can't have a one-party system. It can't. There's got to be representation of both sides.
We'll have it on the school board, so we'll... And you know, the residents, they have their say.
Yes.
They come out on election day, and they've elected the people that they want to see represent them. So it's upon us as, you know, as officials and as candidates for the next round.
Opposition.
As we prepare for the next round of elections, we need to get our message out and what we stand for. And I don't think we do a very good job of that here in Radnor Township.
But the registration is increasingly against the Republicans in the township and the county.
It is, and you know, it's too early for me to tell whether that's based on values or if it's based on things that are happening outside of this area. You know, I know a lot of people have switched their registration just because they don't like seeing what's happening in certain places in the country.
Yes, yep. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up this Commissioner's Corner?
No, I think, I mean, just for residents over the next couple of weeks, we'll be focused on the budget for next year. So if they have questions or concerns, now's the time to come out to meetings and express those concerns. You know, as always, I'll be fighting for as low a tax increase as possible, and really focused in on cutting duplication and what I consider waste. So when we're funding 4 different projects that do the same thing, we've got to really try to lower those costs.
Jake, it might be worth mentioning that if you can't get to the meeting in person, you can watch the meeting live on channel 30, I think it is, for Verizon.
We have 30 on Verizon. correct.
And is it the same for Comcast?
I don't know about Comcast.
But you'll look it up. But the point is, you can watch it live, and then you can watch the recording of each meeting on the township channel.
You can do it on the
Which is
township
very-
channel, or as
YouTube.
most people, I go to YouTube,
YouTube,
and find
yeah.
it on YouTube.
Yeah. So we might encourage people to do that.
Yep.
At their convenience, to take a look, if not the whole meeting, because some of them go on their marathons, but at least a sample of what went on.
Well,
in
and
some of the meetings.
that's a good point, and something that I've talked about with a couple of the commissioners, and I think there's agreement that we are going to work hard over the next year to cut the time of the meetings.
Amen. Amen. I hate to say it, always a little suspicious that they really save the good stuff to the end of the meeting, 10:30,
Well, that's-
11 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's the point. Let's get the residents out there, and
Yeah.
they can see the meeting and be out of there by 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to see you. This has been another in the episodes that the MLTV has been running as a public service Commissioner's Corner. I'm Rick Anthony. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves.